Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Stacy, and today I'm sharing a story that ripped my heart out, turned my world upside down, and ultimately set me free in ways I never expected. This isn't just a love story, it's a raw, emotional roller coaster of falling in love with someone who promised me forever, losing it all the day before our wedding, and uncovering a secret so wild it changed my life. If you've ever had your heart shattered right when you thought you had it all, or if you found strength in the ashes of your dreams, this one's for you. It's a long, twist-filled ride full of tears, laughter, and triumphs, so grab a coffee, a snack, maybe a cozy blanket, and settle in. Let's get into it. I was 27 when this all began. I'd been living in Charleston, South Carolina, for a few years, working as a wedding photographer, capturing love stories in the Lowcountry's golden light. My apartment was a charming loft in the French Quarter, think exposed brick walls, a cluttered desk with camera gear, and a balcony overlooking cobblestone streets and pastel row houses. Life was a whirlwind, shooting engagements on Rainbow Row, editing photos late into the night, biking through Battery Park with the scent of magnolias in the air. I loved Charleston's romantic soul, its historic charm, its hidden gardens, its sultry breeze, but I was ready for my own love story. Dating here was a mix of sweet southern guys and touristy bar meetups, never anything lasting. I wanted a love that felt like a Charleston sunset, warm, timeless, unforgettable. It all started one humid spring evening at a charity gala I was photographing at the Gibby's Museum of Art. The venue was dripping with elegance, chandeliers, live jazz, guests in black tie attire. That's when I met him, Elliot. He was a chef, catering the event with his farm-to-table dishes, his sandy hair swept back, wearing a crisp white jacket that glowed under the museum lights. His charm was electric, part culinary artist, part southern gentleman, and I caught him watching me as I snapped photos. After the gala, he approached, holding a plate of mini shrimp and grits. "Caught you eyeing my food," he teased, his Charleston drawl soft and warm. I laughed, admitted I was starving, and we started talking over his creations. Elliot was a Charleston native, raised on Lowcountry recipes and family dinners by the Ashley River. By day, he ran a small bistro downtown, but his passion was creating dishes that told stories, dreaming of opening a restaurant that put Charleston on the culinary map. He had this magnetic energy, quoting Julia Child one minute, joking about the city's ghost tours the next. We talked until the gala ended, swapping stories about our favorite spots. He loved the crab cakes at Husk. I was obsessed with sunrise shoots at Folly Beach. He told me about his childhood, learning to cook from his grandma, and I shared memories of growing up in a small Georgia town, where my dad taught me to see the world through a camera lens. When he asked to see me again, I said yes, my heart already fluttering. Our first date was at Waterfront Park, strolling under the pineapple fountain, sharing iced tea from a local cafe as the sun set over the harbor. Elliot was different. He listened, really listened, asking about my childhood dreams of being a photojournalist, my love for capturing love in freeze frame. He showed me a recipe he'd scribbled for a new dish, a twist on she crab soup. "This is you, Stacy," he said, pointing to the page. Bold, warm, unforgettable. I melted. It was like something out of a rom-com, and I was hooked. We sat by the water, watching sailboats glide, and he told me about his dream to open a restaurant that blended Charleston's history with modern flavors. I shared my hope to start a photography blog, showcasing the South's beauty. By the time we parted ways, I was already falling. Our relationship was a Charleston sunset, vibrant, soulful, full of promise. Within months, we were inseparable. We'd drive out to the Angel Oak, where I'd photograph the ancient tree while he sketched menu ideas. We'd hit up Charleston's markets, spending hours at the city market, picking out local spices for his dishes. He'd surprise me with little gifts, a vintage Polaroid camera, a handwritten recipe tucked in my bag. We'd spend lazy Sundays at his place, a cozy apartment in Ansonboro filled with cookbooks, copper pans, and half-finished menus, cooking shrimp étouffée while he played Van Morrison on his record player. "You're my secret ingredient, Stacy," he'd say, and I'd laugh, saying I was just a girl with a camera and too many dreams. "Nah, you're my whole recipe," he'd reply, pulling me close, and I believed him. We built our own traditions. Every Saturday, we'd go to the Charleston Farmers Market, browsing local honey and picking out fresh peaches, debating the best way to make pecan pralines. He swore by dark chocolate. I was a caramel purist. One time, he gave me a silver necklace with a tiny pineapple charm. "So you'll always carry Charleston with you," he said, fastening it around my neck with a smile that made my heart skip. We'd end the day at a rooftop bar on King Street, sipping palmetto cocktails and watching the city glow. We talked about the future endlessly, him opening his dream restaurant, me launching my blog and maybe a photo book. We planned a road trip to Savannah, dreaming of photographing and cooking our way through the South. "You and me, Stacy, we're gonna capture the Lowcountry," he'd say, his hand in mine, and I pictured us building a life as colorful as Charleston's pastel houses. After a year, Elliot proposed. It was perfect, on a quiet evening at White Point Garden, under the oaks, with the harbor shimmering behind us. He got down on one knee, holding a simple ring with a pearl. "Stacy, you're my home, my heart, my everything. Will you marry me?" he said, his voice trembling. I said yes, tears streaming, and we kissed as the stars came out. We planned a spring wedding at Boone Hall Plantation, with its avenue of oaks and historic charm. I spent months photographing venues, designing our save-the-dates, dreaming of our life together. My family in Georgia was thrilled. My mom helped me pick a dress. My brother Caleb offered to DJ. My best friend, Harper, my go-to since moving to Charleston, helped plan every detail, from the menu, Elliot's Lowcountry dishes, to the flowers, magnolias, of course. Life felt like a fairy tale, and I was ready to say, "I do." But the fairy tale cracked the day before our wedding. It was a hectic April morning, with the venue buzzing, floral deliveries, caterers setting up, my dress hanging in the bridal suite. I was at Boone Hall, photographing the setup, when I got a text from an unknown number. "Check Elliot's laptop. You deserve the truth." My stomach dropped. I brushed it off as a prank, but the words gnawed at me. That evening, at his apartment, while he was out finalizing the menu, I opened his laptop to borrow a recipe file. What I found wasn't a recipe, it was an email thread, dozens of messages between Elliot and someone named Claire. My hands shook as I read. Claire was his ex, a chef he'd dated years ago in Charleston. The emails weren't old, they were recent, from the past 6 months, filled with flirty banter, plans to meet, and a bombshell. Claire was pregnant, and Elliot was the father. He'd been meeting her in secret, promising to figure things out after our wedding. The last email, sent 2 days ago, read, "I'll tell her after the honeymoon. I can't lose you both." My world collapsed. The man I was marrying tomorrow had been living a double life, hiding a child and a rekindled romance. I felt like a Polaroid left in the rain, fading, ruined, discarded. I confronted him that night, my voice breaking as I stood in his kitchen, the scent of his test-run wedding dishes still lingering. "Elliot, who's Claire?" I demanded, holding up his laptop. His face went white, and he tried to explain. Claire was a mistake from a moment of weakness, a one-night reunion that led to a pregnancy he didn't know how to handle. He swore he loved me, that he planned to tell me after the wedding to protect me. Protect me? I screamed, tears streaming. "You're having a child with her." He begged me to forgive him, saying he wanted our life, but the betrayal was too raw. I couldn't marry him. I tore off the pineapple necklace, threw it at his feet, and walked out, canceling the wedding hours before it was set to begin. The venue staff were stunned, my family heartbroken, Harper furious on my behalf. I spent the night in my loft, sobbing into my wedding dress, the weight of 300 guests' RSVPs and a shattered future crushing me. That night, I broke. I cried until my throat burned, the Charleston skyline blurring through my tears. I deleted every photo of us, burned the playlists we'd made. Van Morrison's Brown-Eyed Girl now felt like a lie. Charleston's charm turned painful. Every oak tree, every pastel house, every harbor view screamed his name. I felt like a fool. How had I missed the signs? Was I not enough? I replayed every moment, every market morning, every sunset walk, every recipe we shared, searching for where I went wrong. There were no answers, just a gaping wound in my chest. I called Harper, sobbing uncontrollably, and she rushed over, staying the night, holding me as I fell apart. "You're enough, Stacy," she whispered. "You'll get through this." But in that moment, I couldn't see how. The next 10 months were a fog of grief. I went through the motions at work, shooting weddings, editing photos, but my heart wasn't in it. My images lacked their usual magic, and clients started noticing. I avoided Boone Hall, the harbor, even my balcony, terrified I'd see something that reminded me of Elliot. Friends tried to help. Harper dragged me to wine nights at Bin 152. My coworker Theo invited me to art walks on King Street, but I was numb. I stopped photographing for fun, let my camera gather dust, gained weight from stress-eating pralines and sweet tea. One low point was finding a photo I'd taken of Elliot, smiling in his chef's jacket, tucked in my portfolio. I tore it up, hating how it still hurt. The loneliness was crushing. I'd lie awake, replaying his lies, wondering if love was just a low-country ghost story. The pain wasn't just emotional, it seeped into every corner of my life. I started messing up at work, delivering blurry photos, missing deadlines. My main client pulled me aside, saying, "Stacy, you're not yourself. Take some time if you need it." I felt like I was failing at everything. I stopped going to weddings, scared I'd see Elliot's catering van. I even avoided my favorite cafe, fearing I'd see a couple that reminded me of us. My family grew worried. My brother Caleb drove down from Georgia, spending a weekend walking Charleston's Battery with me, trying to pull me out of my spiral. "You're stronger than this, Stacy," he said, but I didn't believe him. I started therapy with a kind woman named Dr. Ellis, spilling my hurt in quiet sessions by the harbor. She said, "Stacy, your heart's broken, but it's still yours. Let it heal." It was a lifeline, but I was still drowning. Then came the twist that changed everything. A year after the breakup, I was cleaning out my loft when I found an old memory card from my camera, tucked in a drawer. Curious, I popped it into my laptop, expecting old wedding photos. Instead, I found a folder labeled Elliot's Bistro. It was a video I'd recorded for him, a promotional shoot for his restaurant pitch. But there was something else, a hidden file, a recorded conversation from his laptop mic, accidentally captured during a shoot. It was Elliot and Claire, talking months before our wedding. "She's perfect for the bistro's image," Claire said. "Marry her, use her photos for PR, then we'll run the place together." Elliot's voice, "I know, but I'm falling for her. It's complicated." My blood ran cold. The pregnancy wasn't a mistake, it was planned. Claire and Elliot had orchestrated a scheme to use my photography to boost his bistro's brand, planning to marry me for optics while keeping their relationship and future child secret. I was a pawn in their culinary empire, not a fiancé. The revelation was a gut punch, but it lit a fire in me. I wasn't just betrayed, I'd been played. I contacted a lawyer friend, Maya, who helped me report the video to the bistro's investors, exposing Elliot's and Claire's scheme. The fallout was swift, their funding was pulled, the bistro never opened, and their reputations in Charleston's tight-knit food scene tanked. I didn't gloat, I felt no joy in their ruin, but it gave me closure. I wasn't the fool, they were. That spark of anger fueled my healing. I vowed to rebuild, not just for me, but to reclaim the art I loved. A month later, I hit a turning point. I was at a gallery on Broad Street, staring at a blank canvas, feeling like a shadow of myself, when I saw a flyer for a pottery workshop at a local studio. On a whim, I signed up, desperate for anything to shake me out of my rut. The first class was a mess, clay everywhere, my vase collapsing, but it was the first time I'd laughed in months, a real, belly-deep laugh that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. The instructor, Ruby, with warm eyes and a Charleston drawl, said, "Stacy, let the clay hold your story. It's not about perfection, it's about feeling." I started pouring my pain into every piece, shaping bowls and mugs that carried my grief, my anger, my hope. Each session felt like stitching myself back together. In that class, I met Lila, a painter who'd moved to Charleston to start over after her own heartbreak. We bonded instantly, and she became my lifeline, inviting me to art nights at her studio where we'd sip wine, create, and talk about everything but the past. I started saying yes to life again, bit by bit. I joined a photography club in the French Quarter, a small group of creatives who met in a cozy cafe. I shared new photos, portraits of Charleston street musicians, sunsets over the Ravenel Bridge, pouring my emotions into every shot. The feedback was electric. People said my work made them feel seen, like they weren't alone. One member, a photojournalist named Ezra, told me, "Stacy, your photos are like a love letter to the Lowcountry." I started to believe him. I signed up for salsa dancing classes downtown, stumbling through steps at a historic ballroom, laughing as I tripped over my own feet but finding joy in the rhythm. I started running along the Battery at dawn, the harbor sparkling as I pushed forward, each step a reminder that I was still here. I took a solo trip to the Blue Ridge Mountains, renting a cabin, photographing misty peaks as I journaled. It was terrifying to travel alone, but it taught me I could be my own safe place, a frame for my own story. New people entered my life, slowly filling the void. At a photography meetup, I met Theo, a travel photographer with a quick laugh and a passion for storytelling through images. We started collaborating on a blog series about Charleston's hidden gems, gullah markets, secret gardens, oyster roasts. It wasn't romantic, but it was real, reigniting my love for photography. Theo introduced me to his friend Quinn, a historian who led walking tours, and we bonded over our shared love of Charleston stories. I volunteered at a local animal shelter, spending weekends walking dogs and falling in love with a scruffy mutt named Marsh, with soulful eyes and a lopsided grin. I adopted him, and he became my shadow, curling up beside me as I edited photos or journaled late into the night. I tried kayaking on the Ashley River, flipping over a dozen times in the murky water but laughing through every splash, feeling alive again. My creativity roared back, like a shutter clicking on a perfect shot. I revived my camera, filling memory cards with new images, and relaunched my photography blog, sharing my work alongside stories of Charleston's soul. It grew fast. Readers emailed me, saying my vulnerability gave them hope, that my photos captured the heart of the South. I pitched a photo book to a local publisher, a collection of lowcountry images paired with essays about healing, and they offered me a deal. Shooting it, surrounded by a community who believed in me, felt like a dream I hadn't dared to dream. I also started a YouTube channel, posting vlogs about my journey, photography, heartbreak, healing. The response was overwhelming. Viewers from across the country shared their own tales of betrayal and resilience, creating a community that felt like a warm hug. One video, where I talked about turning pain into art while shaping a clay bowl, went viral, with comments like, "This gave me hope to keep going." I cried reading them, realizing I wasn't alone either. The healing wasn't linear. Some days, I'd see a wedding dress or smell she-crab soup and feel a pang, the ghost of Elliot lingering. Therapy with Dr. Ellis helped me navigate those moments, teaching me to honor the pain without letting it define me. I started hosting photography workshops at a local gallery, giving other creatives a space to share their stories. I took more solo trips, each one a step toward reclaiming myself, a weekend in Savannah to photograph its squares, a drive to Asheville to capture its art scene. I even started shooting weddings again, not as Elliot's fiancée but as Stacy, the photographer, capturing love without fear. My career took off in ways I hadn't expected. My blog led to freelance gigs with national travel magazines, and I was invited to speak at a photography conference in Atlanta. Standing on that stage, sharing my journey from heartbreak to healing, I felt like I was finally living my truth. I started teaching photography classes in Charleston, helping others find their lens. My photo book, Light Through the Oaks, became a regional hit, and readers reached out, saying it inspired them to face their own pain. I kept vlogging, sharing recipes, photography tips, and personal stories, building a community that felt like family. 5 years later, I ran into Elliot at a food festival on King Street, the same place we'd once dreamed of opening his bistro. He looked worn, his chef's jacket creased, his dreams of a restaurant empire gone. He told me Claire had left him, that their child was growing up without his bistro's success. "I messed up, Stacy," he said, his voice heavy with regret. I waited for the old ache, the spark that used to light me up. Nothing. "I'm good, Elliot," I said, smiling softly. I found my own light. I walked away, the festival lights glowing behind me, the scent of magnolias in the air, feeling lighter than ever. Now, I'm 32, living my truth. My photo book's gaining traction, my YouTube channel's thriving, and I'm planning a trip to Italy to photograph its villages. I date when it feels right, but I know my worth doesn't depend on anyone else. Love's not a perfect snapshot, it's messy, real, and possible when you're whole. Charleston's still my home, its pastel streets and oak-lined paths a reminder of how far I've come. I'm not the girl who lost her wedding anymore, I'm the woman who captured her own story, one shot, one step, one sunset at a time. Alright, guys, what's your story of love, lies, or finding your light? Drop it in the comments, let's lift each other up. If this resonated, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for joining me on this epic ride. See you next time.